Hey, Railcat fans, Dan Vaughn with you. A little look at the backyard as we're actually back in the States, and let's put you live back toward me. Good morning. Happy NCAA Day. As you can see, I'm wearing my Texas Tech colors today. It's maybe the only day I'm going to get a chance to wear them this year. Looks like little, I might be mother. I'm not sure though. C.A. Vaughn joined us. But anyway, we're wearing the Craig Maddox joining us as well. Got some Railcat things to talk about. But first, NCAA. Happy NCAA Day. Games start in about an hour, actually about 30 minutes or so. But making my way to watch Texas Tech, which is my alma mater. And maybe they'll play one more day. Maybe not. But I figured, why not? Sport the colors today. Hey, it's been like 7 or 8 years since Tech's been in, so it's a pretty big deal. So at least finally, my alma mater being in the NCAA tournament is a pretty big deal. All kinds of things to talk about. Got back from Australia on Tuesday. The regularly scheduled Wednesday Railcatting video blog, I kind of banged it just trying to play catch up. But it really didn't have a lot to talk about at the time until I woke up this morning and found out we have plenty to talk about, plenty of things to tell you. And these are things that are breaking news that, of course, I brought you the live things from Perth last week. This week, as we play catch up, all of a sudden, boom, Thursday, we got a lot of things happening. First off, let's tell you what we're going to do. The media is going to get this a bit later on. A lot of these things are kind of happening really this morning and today, things the media will pick up later on. But you're going to get them first. This is kind of the way Periscope's going to work this season for the Railcats. We're going to give you the news as it happens. It might be at the ballpark. It might be at lunch. It might be wherever. But as we hear these things, we're trying to get them to you as fast as possible. And this is something that's kind of one of the great things about Periscope. Of course, it's also interactive. You can ask questions, and I hope your fans will do that. We're talking Gary South Shore RailCats baseball. Of course, saw Craig Maddox pop up there. He was part of that 2013 team right there, and the wife as well joining it. It's like friends and family only here today. But anyway, the Gary South Shore RailCats, for you folks who have never caught the Railcatting video blog, we're in the American Association Independent League Baseball, and based out of the Chicagoland area in Gary, Indiana, in the northwest Indiana suburbs there of Chicago. Let me check my notes here before we get going, or can we get going here? Let's start with a trade that we expect to be announced at some point. We're actually sitting on this because we're expecting New Britain in the Atlantic League to announce this, but Jonathan Jones, former Railcat, will be a former Railcat by the end of the day, as New Britain in the Atlantic League is going to sign Jonathan, actually trade with the Railcats, not signing, but trade with the Railcats for future considerations. New Britain, you're probably saying, wait, I don't know much about New Britain. I don't think weren't they affiliated ball? Yes, they were. They had been, in recent memory, they were the Rockies affiliate last year. For a number of years, they were a Twins affiliate in the Eastern League, Double-A Eastern League, were a Red Sox affiliate before that. They're in New Britain, Connecticut. They, that ball club, the New Britain Ball Club in the Eastern League, moving to, I believe, the Hartford area, and that new ballpark there, not very far away. Connecticut's not very big, so it didn't go very far. But New Britain has a ballpark open. Well, the Atlantic League, the Camden Ball Club, the Camden River Sharks, I believe they're called, they packed up and they've moved that operation, a brand new operation, as a matter of fact, new GM, logo, new team, the New Britain Bees, which I believe are the third team in baseball known as the Bees. You've got the Salt Lake Club, and you also got the club located in the Midwest League, the Burlington Bees. Ryan Hyatt joining us. Ryan, hope you're going to be watching Tech later on today and all that good stuff. New Britain, though, it's the first time the Railcats have dealt with New Britain in this trade, so we'll be sending Jonathan Jones, who led the club last year in stolen bases and average, but was bothered with guns up as well. Wreck 'em. Jonathan Jones was bothered by a tweaked hamstring, didn't finish the season with the Railcats. He was on the disabled list the last couple of weeks, then finished the season with the Railcats, but finished up a leader in stolen bases and average. But Jonathan wants a crack at trying to get affiliated baseball again. He spent the first 6 years or 5 years of his career, rather, with the Blue Jays organization. I think this is a better chance for Jonathan to get that crack at affiliated baseball again with the Atlantic League. Not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It doesn't mean that every guy is going to get a crack at affiliated ball there, but I think in Jonathan's case, with the young outfielders the Railcats are going with, there's a lot of those guys we'll talk about next week when we kind of break the roster down, but it made sense for the Railcats. It made sense for Jonathan, and he wasn't retiring, and Jones will be playing with the Atlantic League in New Britain. Also, a couple of notes to pass along, pull these up to you as well. They'll be announced a bit later on today as the Railcats making a couple of, actually a couple of questions. Nicole Marie, I saw you log in a minute ago to answer your question. Nicole Marie, you asked me, I believe, 2 weeks ago, or was it when I was in Australia last week? Somebody, I believe it was you, asked me about the status of Adam Taylor. Well, Adam Taylor is, as we suspected, will retire from baseball and will pursue other opportunities. I believe Adam will be coaching. He's going to be doing some grad school work and coaching. I think he's already got his part of his master's done, if I understand it correctly. He'll be coaching there in South Carolina. He wants a career in coaching and teaching, and that's what he'll start doing. So good luck and great best wishes to Adam Taylor. No, Nicole Marie, I see your frowny face there. I sympathize. He's a great guy. I'm going to talk about that as I close in just a couple of minutes there. Adam Taylor spent parts of 2 seasons with the Railcats. He'll be on his way to other things, better things. I believe he got married in the off season, so he's going to move along his life. And again, I'll get to that in a moment. Also, Trevor Stevens, a former Northwestern Wildcat, who the Railcats picked up in a trade with Lake Erie in the offseason. Yes, he's one of my faves too, Nicole, and I'm really going to touch on that in a moment because there's a couple of names that are going to come up that are going to also tug the heartstrings as well. But Trevor Stevens didn't play with the Railcats, all Big Ten shortstop. One season was going to play the outfield and the infield for the Cats, but he decided that he's had enough baseball. He's retiring. The Railcats were releasing Trevor Stevens. So Stevens is an outright release. That'll be going to the American Association later on today. Adam Taylor, not a release. His is basically a retirement. And, of course, the Railcats, you never know. Adam may decide, hey, you know what, I want to come back, and that door will always be open for Adam Taylor. Heck of a nice guy, is a class individual. So many of them is, again, I'll mention that just a minute. If you're just joining us, we're talking Gary South Shore RailCats, a Cat Scope today on a Thursday, NCAA Tournament Day. Trying to get this out for you before we get going here. Now the news that, let me get a little juice here. The good news, so to speak, the Railcats already have a very solid receiver in Jaime DeValier in the catching position, but the Railcats are going to be flat out loaded this year with catching. They just are announcing a little later on today as well that Jose Gonzalez, a 10-year minor league veteran of the Rockies and Cardinals organizations, played one part of a short season in Southern Illinois in the Frontier League, but a guy has also got 6 years of experience playing in the Venezuelan Winter League, a young man that's going to bring 10 years of solid baseball under his belt, will also bring a great defensive game as well. You're going to have DeValier, who's been really the valuable switch hitter, can play some positions, and kind of a gutty player. You've got now the veteran Jose Gonzalez, who's going to come in and give you a solid defensive situation, and a guy that will handle these pitching staff, which will be very young. It's going to be a very young Railcat pitching staff this year. So thinking in those terms, it's pretty exciting. Tell a little bit about him, though. Spent the 10 years. Last season was St. Louis. Played in 32 ball games at West Palm, or actually Palm Beach, the Florida State League. Saw action in 4 games at AA in Texas League at Springfield. Didn't hit real well last year in those 32 ball games. 151, very pedestrian, obviously. But listen to these numbers. Last season, he threw out 19 runners in 32 stolen base attempts, and that's good for a 59% percentage. We've talked about this on the broadcast quite a bit during the season. They always ask, what's a good percentage, Dan? Well, most folks will tell you that a catcher, and that's a good question. I will answer that in a moment. As GM Curdy asking the ratio of veterans and rookies so far, and that's actually a very good question. I'll get to that in a little bit in just a moment. But the good number is anything over 30% is considered pretty decent. And if you get a big league guy that throws out 30 or 35% of base runners, that's pretty big. He threw out 59% last year for his career in 530 minor league ball games. Gonzalez has retired 44% of would-be base runners. This is a guy that's got a great arm defensively. I think it'll remind you a little bit of some of those defensive catchers the Cardinals have always had, the Molina types, but also, just a guy that's going to be able to handle the young pitching as well, which is going to be very important. Again, as GM Curdy asking the ratio to rookies to veterans. I'll just look that up for you real quick and tell you. Right now, as it stands, the Railcats have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got us with 10 signed rookies at the moment. And let me double check there. 11 signed rookies at the moment. And the Cats have veteran-wise 1, 2 veterans. Okay, 2 veterans and then the 11 rookies. And then the rest of the lineup, or the rest of the roster looks like this, GM. You've got a 3-year guy in DeValier, a 4-year guy in Hamilton. You've got a 5-year, which actually will convert to a veteran in Sermos to give us another veteran right there. And you've got a 2-year guy, looks like we've got, so you're going to have the 11 rookies, the 4 veterans, and everybody else, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to have, of the 6, you're going to have 3 3-year guys and 2 1-year guys, and then a pair of 4-year guys. So the break's down right now a little heavier rookie-wise, but again, the roster's not complete yet. We've got still a lot of spots still to add and B, to work out during spring training. But right now, it's going to be a heavy younger club. It was a young club last year. I expect it to be a young club this year, but a very good question. I hope that answers that. And we'll talk a bit about that next week in our edition next Wednesday, the one we're scheduled. I'll bring that up next week, and we will talk a bit about the rookies and how that all plays out, and also I'll write a bit about it. But back to the catching situation again. Jose Gonzalez, he's from Venezuela. Going to bring, again, that 10 years. Interesting situation. This, I think, tells us a lot about him. He spent the 8 years of the Rockies organization, played 2 years, spent 2 years in their Dominican Summer League, and then spent 6 seasons in the Rockies organization. What's interesting to note about Gonzalez is that he was released in 2014, or prior to the 14 season, went to Southern Illinois in the Frontier League, played 15 ball games, but a need arose in the Rockies organization. The Rockies brought him right back. He was signed to the 14 season, spent another couple of months, both at AA and AAA, spent a couple of weeks at AAA for the Rockies in 14 before being released again by the Rockies. And that tells me he's an organizational guy. We talk about guys that are veteran guys, organizational guys. He's a guy that's going to give you not only be a good organizational guy. It means he's a guy that's going to probably be almost a coach in the field, a mentor to younger players. And that's the kind of guy you're getting here. It tells you a lot about him. If the Rockies brought him back after releasing him during the middle of the season in 14, that's a huge deal. Then the Cardinals picked him up last year, had him at AA, and then again, I mentioned at High A, the Florida State League. Young man that played 6 seasons, has played 6 seasons, as recently as last season, the Winter League, and with the La Galera Turbones. He had 200 last year in 13 ball games. Career in Venezuela, 64 ball games, a 241 clip. He's been a solid receiver, as I mentioned, throwing out 44% of would-be base runners. So that gets you your breaking news there. And again, John Jones headed to New Britain in the Atlantic League. The release of the 2 players going to retirement, really, of Adam Taylor, and not the retirement, but not the release of Adam Taylor, the retirement of Adam Taylor, and the Trevor Stevens release. That is an outright release. Craig Maddox, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well, and hope things are going well for you. Craig, of course, former Railcat and part of that 13 team. Of course, played at 8 and just got back from Australia. Craig wasn't Adelaide, but it was definitely yes, the same John Jones that played in Australia. Yes, that in Canberra. GM Curdy, that's the John Jones we're talking about. Also, John, who is Desmond Howard's nephew, the former Heisman Trophy winner, and they're on ESPN as well on College Game Day. So a little bloodline there athletically for John Jones. Hate to see him go, and again, I'll get to that in just a moment. Let me pull this, couple other little notes, nuggets we're going to pass along as we kind of wrap things up here. We're going to get going because basketball is going to start about an hour for me. Let's see here. The job fair was a great success on the South Shore. Last Saturday, the Railcats staff brought in 350 folks. And Craig, you know what? I feel you, buddy. You missed Australia. Well, Craig, funny you said it, Craig. I got my cricketer's hat I brought back right here. In my kitchen, I've got some Tim Tams, and I've got some Cherry Ripe bars and chicken salt. But yes, and I brought that back from Australia as Craig played for the Adelaide Bite in one of their great seasons, a really fun season 2 seasons ago, along with Morgan Combs, who was the pitcher of the year in the Australian Baseball League, former Railcat as well. Yes, Reckham Tech, good to see that from GM Curdy. We saw that along the way as well. The job fair, huge success. Things rolling for the staff right now, full speed ahead. as Matthew Calkin, my mate in Australia. How you doing, Matty, my boy? Over there in Australia this morning. What time is it, Matty? It's got to be pushing midnight for you in the West. Good news, though. About 350 folks showed up, and they had an exciting time getting the staff filled up. And Nicole Marie says she loved watching the gang play over there. Loved to see Maddox and Combs play over there in Australia. And it really is cool to see those guys on TV playing over there. And hopefully the Railcats will have some more guys next year. Maybe I can help push a couple toward the West, possibly. Thank you, Matthew. My wife, she's at school today, but Matthew commenting on the library, which actually I've got a couple of folks have asked about that while I'm trying to get this thing wrapped up. Yes, this is the library. It's actually the dining room / library. My wife is a very highly respected English teacher at a really a good school here in town called St. Mark's School of Texas, an all-boys preparatory school, one of the top schools in the country. And she's a English teacher. As you can see, we got the place lined with books. They're not my books, okay? They'd be, I don't think I own like 3, but I hope you'll get some books. And when am I coming to Western Australia again, Matthew? I'll be there in September-ish, October-ish, whenever our season ends in the States and things kind of get going. I'll know a little bit more, Matthew, when I get to Australia. I'll know more around the end of this month, because when the ABL schedule comes out, I'll have a better idea of when I'll be over there, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, watching while at work, I won't tell. Nicole Marie, don't tell my wife she's watching while she's working. But yes, she checked in. Again, the job fair, and yes, Matthew, I'll be there for the Perth Heat. We'll be calling the play-by-play radio broadcast to all home and away games, Matthew. So spread the word. They're on Sport FM. We'll be broadcasting along with Paul Morgan and myself. We'll be calling all the Heat games home and away for you on the radio. We're the only club doing that in the Australian Baseball League. It's a pretty big deal for us. That'll be going on next year. Going on this year, though, at the Railcats, great job fair over the weekend. Happy for those guys. We talked to Brian Leiter via email this morning, the Railcats GM, and Brian was excited. About 350 folks showed up. Of course, it's full speed ahead now, because suddenly the Railcats holding concessions in their own court now. You've got to start staffing for the high school challenge, which there'll be concessions there. And suddenly it's a pretty quick turnaround for West and the boys as they try to get going and get the whole staff going. So Brian told me today they've just been going every which way, been crazy for them and running out of time, but they're going to get it going. And these guys are going to be, I'm telling you, you're going to really love what's going to be happening on the South Shore in the concession stands at U.S. Steel Yard. And a lot of that is going to come from the talent we picked up over the weekend at the job fair. So great things coming. Exciting that went well for the folks back on the South Shore. Ryan Babineau looks to have called it a career as well. You may have seen that. And yes, Matthew, Wendy will be back as well. She's be filming our videos for us in Australia. Wendy D'Souza is part of the Perth Heat media team, who I just saw her last week in Australia. And yes, she'll be back too, Matthew, for the Perth Heat. But back to the Gary South Shore RailCats, which we're talking about here on your Railcat and breaking news. Already told you about the breaking news. Quickly here, Ryan Babineau has called it a career. Some of you folks may have seen that last week when we were in Australia. A couple of really good happy note here. If you know Chad Rhodes, you better get some sleep, Matthew. It's close to after midnight out west in Australia. Sleep good, mate, and we'll see you soon. Chad Rhodes, though, a former Railcats pitcher and former Red Sox farmhand, of course, native Texan. My roommate in the road 2 seasons ago, which I really enjoyed picking his brain. I learned so much about pitching and the mental approach of pitching by spending that time with Chad Rhodes in 2014. The former Boston Red Sox farmhand, of course, Railcat, pitched in Sioux City, pitched around the league, in the American Association. Well, Chad, who's been down in Florence with the Florence Freedom, working with Dennis Pelfrey, the Railcats' former bench coach and now the skipper of Florence. Chad Rhodes is off the Marlins organization as a coach. And I know something Chad was very excited about and he was working toward. He wanted to get back to affiliated baseball as a coach. So what he was trying to do, he figured, you know what, I remember a conversation Chad and I had one night on the road. He said, you know what, I may not get there as a player, but I'll get there as a coach. And he was really focused on that. He's driven by that, a real mental approach guy, and has a great attitude. If you've known Chad and known his story, it's a really exciting time for him. He'll be coaching the Marlins organization. I'll get more for you on that subject next week. Give you more detail when I find out, but that's good news, which means there's an opening for a pitching coach in Florence. So Dennis Pelfrey pulls up Sean Repe. He'll be headed to Florence. He'll be part of the pitching, maybe the pitching coach rather, for the Florence Freedom, which means Alan Keanu expected to be back for the Railcats pitching coach as well. So expect to see that coming up. Yes, Nicole Marie sad about that. I know a lot of these things are sad things, but you got to think of it like this, Nicole Marie. When one of our Railcat family members is able to better their career, whether it be as a player, coach, or even a front office person, and better their family, we got to kind of pull for them. And in Chad's situation, affiliated baseball is something he's been pushing for. He's back there again. Sean Repay, a great teacher, but the Railcats have a great teacher, and Alan Keanu already. And Sean was doing a phenomenal job in the bullpen, working down there with the Railcat relievers. But now an opening comes up, and Sean's now no longer the assistant pitching coach, but he is now the pitching coach at Florence. So great news for Sean. Hate to lose Sean, but we have Alan Keanu, and I love Q. He's a great guy. He'll be back this year working with the Railcats pitchers from what I understand. Well, I mentioned Nicole Marie as I kind of wrap this thing up here. What's this say? Yeah, and Nicole says she's very happy for him, but we sat down by him every game, and he would nice to talk to. He's a great guy, and I think that's a great point. And that's what I was going to talk about here, Nicole, was, we lose guys. Adam Taylor retires. We talked about Craig Maddox a moment ago. Craig was watching, and we lost Craig and Ryan Babineau, guys that went to play other places and retired, and Morgan Combs went away, and we lose some very special people. But one thing I've noticed, and I didn't notice this anywhere else, I spent 10 years in affiliated baseball. I don't recall this feeling like I have now, but there are so many good people that pass the U.S. Steel Yards doors in the front office. Obviously, you fans, incredible people, players, coaches, and I think it speaks to the whole operation from Greg Taggart and what he does is finding quality young men to the entire Salby Sports operation where Mr. Salby picks quality people like Pete Lavin to run the show and run both the ball clubs, and then picking a guy like Brian Leiter and David Kay and David Kerr. I think it just Noah Huck Simmons. It just all trickles down. The quality of people are really, it's amazing to see. And when we lose somebody, Nicole Marie just with this frowny face, and losing Adam Taylor is going to stink because I was close to Adam. I enjoyed the fellowship with Adam and enjoyed his story and enjoyed talking to his family. And, I'm going to hate not having him there. It's like Craig, not having Craig Maddox there or Ryan Babineau or whoever. But we put such, we get so sad about it. Remember, though, this is a historical thing for the club. The fact is, the Railcats get quality people, and for every Adam Taylor, we'll find another one, and we'll get more of them. The thing about it is, we're going to get more and more great folks to join us in our Railcat family. These people don't go away. They stay a part of our family forever. And, we mentioned Craig, for example, and Ryan. Those guys are always, and Alan Keanu, and I was talking to Vicki Williams today, and she was talking about some guys from years gone by when I wasn't around. You guys know the host families feel it. You have these relationships with these players for years and years, and that's what this thing's all about. And the more I thought about it, it's an amazing thing what it says about the quality of people that come to the U.S. Steel Yard. If we're sad about losing them, it means there's some special people. And it's not about losing the RBIs and the wins and losses. It's losing quality people. But rest assured, what makes the Gary South Shore RailCats so special is the fact that Greg Taggart, Brian Leiter, Pete Lavin, and Pat Salvi, and others will find quality people to represent our ball club on and off the field. And that's what means a lot to me, to be a part of such a special family. And you, the viewers, and you, the fans, should feel the same way. Even though we're sad to lose an Adam Taylor, hate to see a guy like Jonathan Jones go, but they were quality people, and there'll be more. But it just shows you what quality work we're doing as an organization. So off my soapbox, what's coming up for you guys? Coming up next week, our Wednesday Railcatting will be live at 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time or thereabouts if I get things going properly. That's our scheduled Railcatting. Of course, any breaking news, we got it right here. If it happens, let's say, how about amen to great people, GM Curdy says. She's a great one, and no doubt about it. She's also experienced Railcat baseball from the front row as he's going to kind of trial by fire. My wife jumping in there, trial by fire. But again, breaking news if it happens. If we get a player move or something, we'll throw it out there for you guys the next few days. If not, our next video blog will be next Wednesday. Also, I'll be breaking down, I'll put the bios of Gonzalez up as well on my Railcatting blog, and also we'll do a little roster breakdown for you guys on the Railcatting blog. Just kind of go by and give you an updated roster. And the next Wednesday we'll go through the roster, kind of where things stand right now, as we're about a month out from really starting to play meaningful spring training ball games. And also, you can follow us on Facebook, Railcats Facebook page, and the Railcats Twitter account. Also, my own personal Twitter account, Dan Vaughn Jr., is another good place to find Railcats breaking news. Also, one more question. I think Nicole Marie had this last week. Where can you find archived copies of these Railcatting blogs? They will be on our YouTube page, but unfortunately, pull the curtain back, our YouTube logins have been kind of fouled up, and there's some new security concerns. We can't get on our YouTube page. What I will do in the meantime, I will upload them the next couple of days to my own personal YouTube page, where I've also been keeping them as well, and I'll send that link out via Twitter and via Facebook, where you guys can find that in my own Dan Vaughn YouTube page. And one more thing to pass along, upcoming stuff we're working on, a Railcating. I think I mentioned this to you a couple weeks ago, audio podcast with Greg Taggart. We'll be doing that next couple of weeks, so look forward to announcing that and getting some breaking update news from Skip here in the next week to 10 days and get that podcast rolling for you as I approach the 1st of April. Around the 5th or so, I'll be in the South Shore, so hopefully around the 1st of April, we'll have our podcast audio side ready to roll as well. So audio, video, written. We're going everywhere, folks. We're all over the place with this social media. Glad you joined us today. I hope you have a great bracket. I hope your bracket's good. They'll be filled out. And if you're a Tech fan, a wreck 'em. And I hope things go well with your team, whoever your team is, in the NCAA tournament. And look forward to seeing you guys next week right here on Railcatting 2016. As we always say on the South Shore, good night, Rusty and Rascal. We'll see y'all next week. God bless.